The colony ship New Hope drifted peacefully through deep space. Inside, families laughed and played together. Children ran through the corridors, excited about their new home on a distant planet. Parents packed their belongings and dreamed of better lives. 7-year-old Emma held her little brother Tommy's hand as they looked out the observation window. Tommy was only 5 years old. His eyes were wide with wonder as he watched the stars pass by. "Look, Emma, that star is blue," Tommy pointed excitedly. Emma smiled at her brother. "When we get to our new home, we'll see stars every night." Behind them, 12-year-old Jake played cards with his friends. He was the oldest kid on the ship. The younger children looked up to him. He always helped them when they were scared or lonely. The ship carried 200 humans. 50 of them were children. They were all heading to a new colony world, a place where they could build farms and schools, a place to call home. Captain Rodriguez sat on the bridge monitoring the ship's systems. Everything was normal. They were 3 days away from their destination. Nothing could go wrong now. Then the alarm started screaming. "Captain!" the sensor officer shouted. "Unknown ships approaching fast." Rodriguez jumped from his seat. "How many?" "5 ships, sir. They're not responding to our hails." The captain's heart sank. This sector was supposed to be safe. No pirates, no hostile aliens. The unknown ships surrounded the New Hope. They were dark and covered with strange weapons. They moved with frightening speed. "They're jamming our communications," another officer reported. "We can't send distress signals." Captain Rodriguez made a decision. "All families to the safe rooms, now!" Throughout the ship, alarms rang. Parents grabbed their children and ran. Emma picked up Tommy and followed the crowd. Jake helped younger kids move faster, but they were too slow. Metal sounds echoed through the ship. Something was cutting through the hull. The unknown aliens were boarding. The safe room doors were still 50 meters away when the attackers appeared. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were black and cold. They wore armor and carried advanced weapons. These were the Zelkran, a species known across the galaxy for one terrible thing. They were slave traders. "Everyone on the floor," one Zelkran shouted in broken human language. His voice was harsh and cruel. The humans froze in fear. Parents pulled their children close. The Zelkran leader walked through the crowd. His soldiers pointed weapons at anyone who moved. He looked at the humans like they were animals in a market. "Search for valuable cargo," he ordered his troops. The Zelkran soldiers spread through the ship. They checked storage rooms and cargo holds. They found nothing of great value, just farming equipment and personal belongings. Then one soldier noticed something. "Commander, look at these." He pointed at the children. The Zelkran commander walked over. He stared at Emma, Tommy, Jake, and the other kids. A terrible smile spread across his face. "Small humans," he said slowly. "These are rare in our markets. They sell for very high prices." Emma's mother stepped forward. "No, please, they're children." The commander pushed her aside. "They're property now. Soldiers take all the young ones." What happened next was chaos. Human parents fought desperately. Fathers threw themselves at the armed aliens. Mothers screamed and clawed at the soldiers. They fought with everything they had, but the Zelkran had weapons and armor. Human parents had nothing but their bare hands and love for their children. One by one, the parents were knocked down or stunned by alien weapons. They tried so hard, they fought so bravely, but it wasn't enough. The Zelkran soldiers grabbed the children, 30 kids in total. They dragged them away from their screaming parents. "Mommy," Tommy cried, reaching for his mother. "Let go of him," Emma screamed, trying to fight the soldier holding her. Jake punched and kicked, but the Zelkran holding him was too strong. "Run, somebody run," he yelled to the other kids, but there was nowhere to run. The Zelkran forced the 30 children through the corridors. Parents tried to follow, but they were locked behind emergency doors. They could only bang on the metal and scream their children's names. The children were taken to the Zelkran ship. They were thrown into large metal cages. The cages were dark and cold. They smelled terrible. Emma held Tommy as he cried. Other children sobbed around them. Some called for their parents. Others sat in shock, unable to speak. Jake pressed his face against the bars. He could see the New Hope through a window. Their home, their families, getting farther away. "We're going to be okay," he lied to the younger kids. "Our parents will come for us." But deep in his heart, Jake was terrified. The Zelkran commander walked past the cages. He laughed at the crying children. Quiet down, little humans. You belong to us now. You'll fetch good prices at the market. The ship's engines roared to life. They were moving, jumping to hyperspace, taking the children far away from everything they knew. Back on the New Hope, the emergency doors finally opened. Parents rushed through. They searched every room, every corridor, every corner. But their children were gone. Emma's father, Michael, stumbled to the bridge. His face was wet with tears. His hands were covered in blood from fighting the Zelkran. "We have to call for help," he shouted at the captain. "Communications are still jammed," Rodriguez said, his voice broken. "But I'm trying to fix it." Michael fell to his knees. His daughter, his son, taken by monsters, Rodriguez worked frantically on the systems. Finally, after an hour, he broke through the jamming signal. With shaking hands, Michael recorded a message. His voice cracked as he spoke. "This is Colony Ship New Hope. We were attacked by alien slave traders. They took our children, 30 children, ages 5 to 12. Please, someone, anyone, help us. They took our babies." The message shot through space toward human territory, traveling at the speed of light, racing toward Earth. In Earth's military headquarters, 3 days later, the message arrived. Any alarm started ringing, and humanity's rage began to awaken. The message from the New Hope arrived at Earth's military command center at 3 a.m. A young communications officer was drinking coffee when his screen lit up. He clicked on the message and started listening. 5 seconds later, his coffee cup fell from his hands and shattered on the floor. "Sir," he shouted to his supervisor, "you need to hear this. Right now." Within minutes, the message played in the main command room. Dozens of military officers listened in complete silence. They heard Michael's broken voice begging for help. They heard the pain of a father who lost his children. When the message ended, nobody spoke. The room was silent as a grave. General Marcus Stone stood at the back of the room. He was 50 years old, a veteran of 3 wars. He had seen soldiers die. He had made difficult decisions. He thought nothing could shock him anymore. He was wrong. Stone had a daughter. She was 8 years old, the same age as some of those kidnapped children. As he listened to the message, he imagined his own daughter being taken, being locked in a cage, being sold like an animal. His hands clenched into fists. His jaw tightened. Anger burned in his chest like fire. "Get me everything," Stone said quietly. His voice was cold and deadly. "Every piece of information about these Zelkran. Their location, their military strength, everything." Officers jumped to their computers. Data appeared on screens throughout the room. "The Zelkran are a slave-trading species," an intelligence officer reported. "They operate in the Outer Rim sector. They're protected by trade agreements with several other species." "How strong is their military?" Stone asked. "Approximately 50 warships defend their home system. Another 200 scattered across their territory." Stone nodded slowly. "And how many ships do we have?" "In total?" 400 warships, sir, but most are on patrol or defending Earth." "Pull them back," Stone ordered. "Every single one. I want the entire fleet assembled within 24 hours. A senior admiral stepped forward. "Sir, with respect, that would leave our colonies undefended." "If we move the entire fleet, I don't care," Stone interrupted. His voice was sharp as a knife. "Those children have been missing for 3 days. Every hour we wait, they get farther away. Every hour we delay, they suffer more." The admiral tried again. "General, starting a military action in Zelkran territory could trigger a war with multiple species. The political consequences." Stone turned to face him. His eyes were hard and cold. 30 children were stolen from us. 30 innocent kids. You want to talk about political consequences? Tell that to their parents." The room went silent again. Stone walked to the center of the room. He looked at every officer present. "Let me make something clear. We are not negotiating. We are not paying ransom. We are getting our children back. And we are teaching the entire galaxy a lesson they will never forget." He pointed at the star map. "Send a message to every human ship. Full mobilization. We launch in 24 hours. Anyone who took our children will face the full force of humanity." Officers saluted and rushed to their stations. Within hours, orders went out across human space. Every warship, every soldier, every pilot, all called back to Earth. The greatest military mobilization in human history had begun. Meanwhile, thousands of light years away, The 30 human children arrived at their nightmare. The Zelkran slave market was on a planet called Torvak III. It was a dark, dirty world where criminals from across the galaxy came to buy and sell living beings. The children were taken from the Zelkran ship and moved to a large building. They were pushed into a huge cage with other prisoners. Aliens of different species sat in corners looking hopeless and defeated. Emma still held Tommy. He hadn't stopped crying since they were taken. His small body shook with fear. "I want Mommy," Tommy whispered over and over. "I want to go home." "Me too," Emma said, tears running down her face. "Me too." Jake sat against the cage bars. His hands were bruised from trying to fight the guards. An old alien prisoner sat next to him. The alien had gray fur and kind eyes. "You're human children," the old alien said softly. "I'm sorry you're here. Will our parents come?" Jake asked. He tried to sound brave, but his voice shook. The old alien looked sad. "This place is very far from human space, young one. And the Zelkran have powerful friends. Many species protect them because they profit from the slave trade. So nobody's coming?" Jake felt his hope dying. "I didn't say that," the old alien replied. "I said it's far. But humans are different. I've heard stories about your species. You're loyal to your families, protective of your young." Jake looked at the old alien. "What kind of stories?" "Stories that say humans never abandon their own. Stories that say you fight harder for your children than any other species." The alien paused. "But these are just stories. I don't know if they're true." Jake looked at the younger children in the cage. They were all so scared, so broken. He wanted to believe help was coming. He wanted to believe his parents hadn't given up. "They'll come," Jake said, more to himself than anyone else. "I know they will." The next morning, Zelkran guards entered the cage area. They carried electronic devices and scanning equipment. "Listen up, prisoners," one guard shouted. "Tomorrow is auction day. You'll all be cleaned up and prepared for sale. Rich buyers are coming from across the sector." The guard pointed at the human children. "Especially you small humans. You're going to make us a fortune." Emma held Tommy tighter. Other children began crying again. The guard laughed. "Cry all you want. Nobody's coming to save you. This is your life now." But the guard was wrong. Far away in the darkness of space, something was moving. Ships, hundreds of them, all traveling in the same direction. All moving toward Torvak III. And leading them was General Marcus Stone, standing on his flagship's bridge. His orders to the fleet were simple and clear. "Find the children. Save them. Destroy anyone who stands in our way." The human fleet jumped to hyperspace. They were coming, and nothing in the galaxy was going to stop them. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within hours, every major species knew something unprecedented was happening. Humans were moving their entire military fleet. In the Galactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Rylock sat in his office reading reports. Rylock was a Vornath, a species known for wisdom and long life. He had studied humans for 50 years. He knew them better than most aliens. His assistant rushed into the office. "Ambassador, the humans have mobilized 400 warships. Their entire fleet." Rylock's eyes widened. 400 ships? Why?" "We don't know, sir. They won't answer our communications. They're just moving toward the outer rim." Rylock pulled up a star map. The outer rim, that was Zelkran territory. He typed quickly on his computer, searching for any recent incidents involving humans in Zelkran. Then he found it. The distress call from the colony ship New Hope. The kidnapping report. 30 human children. Rylock's blood ran cold. "Oh no, they took human children?" His assistant looked confused. "Sir, it's only 30 individuals. Why would humans risk war over—" "Because you don't understand them." Rylock stood up suddenly. "Humans are different from us. Their children aren't just future members of society. They're sacred, precious beyond measure." He grabbed his communication device. "Get me the Zelkran government now, emergency priority." "Sir, the Zelkran won't take calls from—" "Tell them if they don't answer. 400 human warships will arrive at their doorstep within days. That should get their attention." 5 minutes later, a Zelkran official appeared on Rylock's screen. He looked annoyed. "Ambassador Rylock, what is so important that you demand emergency contact?" "Did your people kidnap 30 human children 3 days ago?" Rylock asked directly. The Zelkran official's face changed. Just for a second, Rylock saw surprise. Then the official's expression became neutral. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, Rylock shouted. The human fleet is coming. All 400 ships. If those children are in your territory, you need to return them immediately. The Zelkran official laughed. 400 ships? We're not afraid of humans. We have alliances, protection. And those children, if they exist, are legal property under our laws. Your laws don't matter to humans when it comes to their children. Rylock tried to make him understand. Please, I'm trying to help you. Return the children before... The Zelkran official cut the transmission. Rylock sat back in his chair. He had tried. He had warned them. Now all he could do was watch what happened next. Across the galaxy, other species were having similar conversations. The Draknor Empire, a powerful military species, held an emergency meeting. Their generals looked at data about the human fleet. Should we be concerned? One general asked. Humans are small, another replied. Only 400 ships. We have 3,000. But human technology is advanced, a third general said, and they're moving with purpose. This isn't a patrol. This is an attack force. The Draknor Council decided to watch and wait. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to witness something that would change galactic politics forever. On Torvak 3, the slave market prepared for its biggest auction in years. Word had spread that 30 human children were for sale. Buyers came from across the sector. Humans were rare in slave markets. Human children were almost impossible to find. The children were taken from their cage early in the morning. Zelkran guards forced them to wash and put on clean clothes. They wanted the children to look good for the buyers. Emma was separated from Tommy during the washing. She screamed and fought, but the guards were too strong. Tommy cried for his sister, reaching out his small hands. Please, Emma begged. Don't take him away from me. A guard slapped her. Shut up, human. You'll do what we tell you. Jake saw this happen. Anger burned in his chest. He was only 12, but he had to protect the younger kids somehow. When a guard came near him, Jake punched him as hard as he could. The guard stumbled back in surprise. Then his face twisted with rage. He grabbed Jake and threw him against the wall. Jake's head hit hard. Pain exploded through his skull. You want to fight? The guard snarled. He pulled out a shock stick. Let me teach you about obedience, he hit Jake with the stick. Electricity shot through Jake's body. He screamed and fell to the floor. The guard hit him again. And again. Other children cried and begged the guard to stop. But he didn't stop until Jake lay unconscious on the ground. Take him to the medical unit, the guard ordered. Fix him up enough to sell. Damaged goods bring lower prices. The auction hall filled with buyers. Rich aliens sat in comfortable seats looking at digital catalogs. Each catalog showed pictures and information about the slaves for sale today. The human children were listed as premium items. Their starting prices were incredibly high. The auctioneer, a fat Zelkran with greedy eyes, walked onto the stage. Welcome, honored buyers. Today we have something very special. Very rare, human children. The crowd murmured with interest. Let's start the auction. The auctioneer gestured toward a door. Guards brought out the first child. A small girl, only 6 years old. She was crying. This young human female is healthy and trainable. Perfect for household service. Let's start bidding at 10,000 credits. Buyers raised their hands. Numbers flashed on screens. The price climbed higher and higher. The little girl was sold for 30,000 credits. She was taken away, still crying for her mother. One by one, the children were brought out. One by one, they were sold like animals. Emma watched in horror as her friends disappeared through doors with strangers. Then it was Tommy's turn. No, Emma screamed. Not my brother. Please. Guards held her back as Tommy was brought onto the stage. He was so small, so scared. He could barely stand. A male human, only 5 years old, the auctioneer announced. Very young. Easy to train. Starting bid 15,000 credits. The bidding started. Tommy stood on the stage, shaking and crying. He didn't understand what was happening. He just wanted his family. The price reached 40,000 credits. Sold to a wealthy trader from the Rigel system. Emma collapsed to her knees. Her brother was gone. Taken by a stranger. She would probably never see him again. But high above the planet, in the darkness of space, sensors detected something. A massive hyperspace disturbance. Ships were arriving. Many ships. A technician in the orbital traffic control station looked at his screen. His eyes went wide with terror. Alert the surface, He screamed into his communicator. Human warships just exited hyperspace. Hundreds of them. They're surrounding the planet. On the auction stage, the auctioneer stopped mid-sentence. An alarm started ringing throughout the building. A message came through all communication systems. The voice was human. It was cold. It was deadly. This is General Marcus Stone of the United Earth Fleet. We know our children are on this planet. You have 1 hour to return them safely. After that, we will take them by force. There will be no negotiation, no mercy. Return our children now. The auction hall erupted in panic. Buyers ran for the exits. Guards grabbed their weapons, but it was too late. The humans had arrived. The hour passed slowly on Torvak III. The Zelkran government held an emergency meeting. Military commanders argued with politicians. Everyone was afraid, but no one wanted to admit it. We should return the human children, one official said nervously. 400 warships are above our planet. Absolutely not. The defense minister shouted. If we give in to their threats, we look weak. Other species will stop respecting us. The humans are bluffing, another commander said. They won't attack. It would violate a dozen galactic laws. The council would punish them. The prime minister made the final decision. We don't negotiate with threats. Alert our defense fleet. If the humans attack, we destroy them. A message was sent to General Stone. We reject your ultimatum. The individuals you seek are legal property. Leave our space immediately or face military consequences. On the bridge of his flagship, Stone read the message. His face showed no emotion. He had expected this response. He had hoped they would be smart enough to surrender peacefully. They weren't. All ships, Stone said into the fleet-wide communication. Weapons free. Primary targets are military installations and ships. Avoid civilian areas if possible. Our mission is to get our children back, not to massacre innocents. He paused, then added, but anyone who stands between us and our kids is now an enemy. Show no mercy to those who fight back. 400 human warships moved into attack formation. They spread out around the planet like a net. Zelkran defense stations powered up their weapons. 50 Zelkran warships launched from the planet's surface to meet the threat. The Zelkran fleet commander opened a channel to the humans. Last warning. Leave now or we will open fire. Stone's response was simple. Come and try. The Zelkran commander screamed into his microphone. All ships attack. 50 Zelkran warships charged at the human fleet. Their weapons fired first. Energy beams and missiles flew through space toward the human ships. Human shields absorbed the attacks easily. The Zelkran weapons barely made the shields flicker. Then the humans returned fire. It wasn't even a fair fight. Human weapons were generations ahead of Zelkran technology. Precision laser cannons hit their targets with perfect accuracy. Missiles dodged defensive fire and struck exactly where they were aimed. In the first 30 seconds, 10 Zelkran warships were destroyed. Just gone. Reduced to burning wreckage floating in space. The remaining Zelkran ships tried to retreat, but it was too late. Human fighters launched from carriers, small fast ships piloted by skilled humans. They swarmed around the Zelkran vessels like angry wasps. 5 minutes into the battle, half the Zelkran fleet was destroyed. The other half surrendered. On the planet's surface, people watched the sky in horror. They saw the explosions. They saw their mighty military fleet get destroyed in minutes. Fear spread through the slave market building. Guards abandoned their posts and ran. The auctioneer fled through a back door. Buyers hid in basements. Emma sat in her holding cell with the other remaining children. They heard explosions in the distance. They felt the building shake. What's happening? A young boy asked, his voice trembling. Jake, who had regained consciousness after being beaten, pressed his face against the bars. His head still hurt badly, but hope burned in his chest. I think help is coming, he said. Above the planet, Stone gave his next order. Launch ground forces. Find those children now. Hundreds of dropships fell from the human warships like rain. They carried soldiers, special forces trained for rescue operations. These weren't regular troops. These were the best humanity had. Each soldier wore advanced armor and carried weapons designed for precision. Their mission was clear. Find the 30 children and bring them home safely. The dropships landed throughout the city where the slave market was located. Human soldiers poured out, moving in organized teams. They had studied maps of the area. They knew where the auction house was located. Zelkran guards tried to stop them. It was useless. Human soldiers moved like ghosts. Their armor protected them from enemy fire. Their weapons dropped guards with single shots. They were efficient, professional, unstoppable. One team reached the auction house in 10 minutes. They blew the main doors off with explosive charges. Smoke filled the hallways. "Search every room," the team leader ordered. "The children are here somewhere." They found the first group in the holding cells. 15 children huddled together, terrified by all the explosions and gunfire. A human soldier approached the bars. He removed his helmet so the children could see his face. He was young, maybe 25. He had kind eyes. "Hey kids," he said gently. "I'm Sergeant Davis. We're from Earth. We're here to take you home." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Emma stood up. Tears streamed down her face. "You came? You really came?" "Of course we came," Davis said, his own eyes getting wet. "Did you think we'd leave you here?" He broke the lock on the cell. The children rushed out. Some hugged the soldiers. Others just cried with relief. Jake walked out holding his injured head. "There are 15 more kids. They were sold before you got here, and 3 are still missing from the original 30. Davis spoke into his radio. "Command, we have 15 children secured. 18 still missing. Request locations of all buyers from today's auction." Stone's voice came back immediately. "We're hacking their computers now. We'll have addresses in minutes. No one leaves this planet with our children." More human teams found the auction records. They got the names and locations of every buyer who purchased a human child. Within an hour, soldiers were kicking down doors across the city. A wealthy merchant tried to hide little Tommy in a basement. Human soldiers found him in 2 minutes. The merchant was arrested. Tommy was carried out by a soldier who whispered, "You're safe now, buddy. We got you." One by one, the children were recovered. Each rescue was the same. Soldiers breaking in, shocked buyers being arrested, children crying with relief as they were freed. By nightfall, 27 children were back in human custody. They were given medical treatment, food, and warm blankets. They were safe, but 3 children were still missing. Stone studied the records. 2 children were shipped off-world yesterday. One was taken by a crime lord who left the planet this morning. His officers waited for orders. Stone's face was hard as stone. "We're not stopping. Not until we have all 30. Track those ships, find out where they went. We'll chase them across the entire galaxy if we have to." He looked at his fleet commanders. "And send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them what we did here. Tell them what happens when someone takes our children. Make sure every species in the galaxy hears this message clearly." The message went out within hours. It spread across every communication network. Every species heard it. Every government received it. The message was simple. Humanity will go anywhere, fight anyone, break any rule, to protect our children. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The galaxy watched in shock as news spread about what happened on Torvak III. Images and videos were everywhere. Human warships surrounding a planet. A defense fleet destroyed in minutes. Soldiers rescuing children with precision and speed. But what shocked aliens the most was this. Humans weren't stopping. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Rylock stood before hundreds of alien representatives. He held up a data pad showing the human fleet's current position. "The humans recovered 27 children from Torvak III, Rylock explained, "but 3 are still missing. And the human fleet has split into 3 groups. Each group is hunting 1 child." A Draknor general stood up. "They're splitting their fleet? That's tactically foolish. They make themselves weaker." "They don't care about tactics right now," Rylock said quietly. "They care about their children. All of them. This is madness," another ambassador said. "They're violating territorial borders, entering sovereign space without permission. This could start a war." Rylock looked around the room. "It already has. But not the war you think. Humans just declared war on anyone who harms children. Any children. Any species." The room went silent. Meanwhile, General Stone's command ship tracked the location of 8-year-old Lisa. She had been sold to a crime lord named Vexar the Cruel. Vexar operated from a massive ship that traveled between systems, always moving to avoid authorities. Stone studied the intelligence reports. Vexar had a reputation for violence. He controlled smuggling operations across 12 systems. His ship was heavily armed with over 100 guards. "Sir," an officer said, "Vexar's ship is currently in the Talgun system, but if he knows we're coming, he'll run." "Then we don't give him time to run," Stone replied. "Jump the fleet directly on top of him. Surround his ship before he can react. 20 human warships jumped to hyperspace. They arrived in the Talgon system exactly where Vexar's ship was located. The crime lord's vessel was suddenly surrounded with no escape route. Stone opened a communication channel. Vexar's ugly face appeared on screen. He had scars across his face and metal implants in his skull. What is the meaning of this? Vexar demanded. I am a legitimate businessman. You have no right. You have a human child on your ship, Stone interrupted. An 8-year-old girl named Lisa. Return her now. Vexar's eyes narrowed. I paid good money for that human. She belongs to me. Last chance, Stone said, his voice deadly calm. Give her back, Vexar laughed. Or what, you'll attack me? I have connections, protection. If you touch me, 3 different crime syndicates will stone cut the transmission. Disable their engines. Prepare boarding teams. Human weapons fired precisely. They hit Vexar's ship engines but caused no other damage. The crime lord's ship went dead in space, unable to move. Send in the soldiers, Stone ordered. Boarding pods launched from the human ships. They attached to Vexar's vessel like magnets. Human special forces cut through the hull and poured inside. Vexar's guards tried to fight. They failed. Human soldiers moved through the ship like a storm. Every guard who resisted was knocked unconscious. Those who surrendered were tied up. Within 20 minutes, the entire ship was secured. They found Lisa locked in a small room. She was dirty and scared. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. When human soldiers opened the door, she screamed and tried to hide. It's okay, a female soldier said gently, removing her helmet. My name is Captain Rivers. We're from Earth. We're taking you home to your mom and dad. Lisa stared at her with wide eyes. My parents? They're alive? Yes, sweetie. They're waiting for you. They never stopped looking. Lisa burst into tears and ran into Captain Rivers' arms. The soldier held her tight, her own eyes wet with tears. Vexar was arrested and taken to a human military prison. His ship was confiscated. His criminal empire would collapse within weeks. Across the galaxy in another sector, a second human fleet tracked 2 brothers, David and Marcus, ages 6 and 9. They had been shipped to a mining colony controlled by a corporation called Galactic Resources. The corporation used slave labor in their mines. Dangerous work that killed workers regularly. The 2 human boys were put to work in the deepest, most dangerous tunnels. Commander Lisa Park led this rescue mission. She was furious when she saw the conditions. Children working in mines, species of all ages being treated like machines. This ends today, she said. Her fleet surrounded the mining colony. She sent a simple message to the corporation leaders. Release all child workers immediately or we shut down your entire operation. The corporation refused. They claimed they had legal rights. They threatened lawsuits. Commander Park's response was direct. You have 10 minutes. When the corporation still refused, Park ordered her ships to destroy every piece of mining equipment on the surface. Massive drills, processing plants, transport systems, all reduced to scrap metal in minutes. Will you return the children now? Park asked again. This time the corporation surrendered. They had no choice. Without equipment, their operation was worthless. Human soldiers found David and Marcus in the tunnels. Both boys were exhausted, covered in dirt, and suffering from injuries. Marcus had a broken arm from a tunnel collapse. David had breathing problems from the toxic air. Military doctors treated them immediately. Within hours, both boys were stable and recovering in medical bay. Are we going home? Little David asked weakly. Yes, a doctor told him with a smile. You're going home. The third rescue happened on a cargo ship near the edge of explored space. A 10-year-old girl named Sarah had been purchased by a wealthy collector who collected rare species. This rescue was the easiest. When the collector's ship detected the human fleet approaching, he immediately surrendered. He had heard what happened to others who resisted. Sarah was returned unharmed. The collector was arrested. His entire collection of enslaved beings was freed. By the end of the week, all 30 children were safe in human custody. They were together again on General Stone's flagship. Medical teams checked their health. Counselors helped with their trauma. They were given good food, clean clothes, and safe beds. Most importantly, they were told repeatedly, "You're going home." Your parents are waiting. Emma and Tommy reunited. They hugged and cried together. Jake gathered the younger kids and told them, "See, I told you they'd come. Humans always come for their children." The news spread across the galaxy. Every species heard the story. 30 children kidnapped, an entire fleet mobilized, wars almost started, laws broken, borders violated, all for 30 kids. Species across the galaxy had different reactions. Some were inspired, others were terrified. But everyone understood one thing clearly: never touch human children. General Stone prepared to take the children home to their families. But first he had one more thing to do. He sent a message to every government in the galaxy, every species, every leader. This is General Marcus Stone of Earth. We recovered our children, but we saw something that cannot be ignored. Child slavery. Children of many species being bought and sold, working in mines, locked in cages. This is unacceptable. His voice became harder. We're proposing a new galactic law. Any species that enslaves, harms, or traffics children of any race will face immediate military intervention. Not just from humans, from all civilized species. He paused. The Galactic Council will vote on this law. We strongly encourage its passage, because if it doesn't pass, humanity will enforce it alone. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The message ended. The galaxy had a decision to make. The human fleet returned to Earth with 30 rescued children. News of their arrival spread quickly. Millions of people gathered at the spaceport to welcome them home. General Stone's flagship landed slowly. The main door opened, and one by one, the children walked out into the sunlight. Parents who had waited 3 weeks in agony finally saw their babies again. The moment was pure chaos, beautiful chaos. Emma's father, Michael, pushed through the crowd. He saw his daughter holding Tommy's hand as they walked down the ramp. For a moment he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then he ran. "Emma, Tommy." Emma heard her father's voice. She looked up and saw him running toward them. "Daddy," she screamed. Michael grabbed both his children and fell to his knees. He held them so tight. All 3 of them cried. They cried for everything they lost, everything they survived, everything they had back again. "I'm sorry," Michael sobbed. "I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you." "You came for us," Emma said through her tears. "You sent the soldiers. You saved us." All around them, similar scenes played out. 30 families reunited. 30 miracles. Parents holding children they thought they'd lost forever. Children safe in the arms of the people who loved them most. Jake's mother hugged her son and wouldn't let go. She touched his face, his arms, making sure he was real. "My brave boy," she whispered. "My brave, brave boy." Tommy's mother kissed his face 100 times. "Never again," she promised. "I'll never let you out of my sight again." General Stone watched from the ship. Tears ran down his hard face. This was why they did it. This was why they risked everything. For these moments. For these families, the celebration lasted for days. But Stone knew the work wasn't finished. The galaxy needed to change. This could never happen again to anyone's children. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council called a special session. Every major species sent representatives. The chamber was packed. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Ambassador Rylock stood at the center podium. He looked tired but determined. "We are here to vote on the Protection of Youth Act. This law was proposed by humanity after the recent Torvak III incident." He displayed the law on screens throughout the chamber. The law states, "Any species that kidnaps, enslaves, harms, or traffics children of any race will face immediate military sanctions from the entire Galactic Council." No exceptions. No negotiations. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species supported it immediately. Others were concerned about losing sovereignty. The Zelkran representative stood up. His government had collapsed after the human attack. He looked defeated. "This law will destroy our economy. The slave trade has existed for thousands of years. Then it's time for it to end," Rylak said firmly. Another ambassador spoke. "But who decides what counts as harm? Different species have different cultures, different child-rearing practices." General Stone, who sat in the human delegation area, stood up. He was invited to address the council. "The law is simple," Stone said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Don't buy children. Don't sell children. Don't enslave children. Don't hurt children. These aren't complicated cultural differences. These are basic rights." He looked around the room. 3 weeks ago, 30 human children were stolen and sold. We got them back. But we learned something terrible. Thousands of children from dozens of species are in slavery right now. This isn't just a human problem. This is everyone's problem. A Draknor general spoke. General Stone, your military action violated a dozen laws. You entered sovereign space without permission. You attacked civilian populations. Yes, Stone admitted. We did, and we'd do it again. We'd break every law in the galaxy to save our children. But wouldn't you? The general went quiet. He had children too, Stone continued. This law gives everyone a better way. Instead of individual species taking military action alone, we all agree to protect all children together. Isn't that better than war? The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Ambassador Rylock called for the vote. All in favor of the Protection of Youth Act? Hands rose slowly at first. Then more. Species that competed with each other. Species that had fought wars. All agreeing on one thing. Children must be protected. The vote passed. 347 species voted yes. Only 12 voted no. The law was enacted immediately. The Zelkrin representative stood up and walked out. His species' way of life was over. The galaxy would no longer tolerate slave trading. Stone allowed himself a small smile. They did it. They changed the galaxy. 6 months passed. The new law was enforced strictly. Child trafficking dropped by 90% across the galaxy. Slave markets closed. Traders went to prison. Children of every species were freed and returned to their families. On Earth, the 30 rescued children slowly healed. They went back to school. They played with friends. They had nightmares sometimes, but their families were there to comfort them. Emma and Tommy went to the colony world their family originally planned to reach. They had a small farm now. Emma still held her brother's hand a lot. She probably always would. Jake became friends with many of the other rescued children. They understood each other in ways others couldn't. They helped each other remember that they survived. They were strong. A memorial was built on Earth. It honored the rescue mission. The inscription read, "For 30 children, we brought 400 ships. We crossed the galaxy. We broke laws. We started battles. Because our children are worth everything. This is humanity's promise. We will always come for you." On the 1-year anniversary of the rescue, Emma visited the memorial with her family. She read the words carved in stone. She placed flowers at the base. A reporter asked her, "What do you want people to remember about what happened?" Emma thought for a moment. She was 8 years old now. 1 year older. 1 year stronger. "I want them to remember that we weren't alone," she said. "When we were scared and far from home, people came for us. Not just humans. The whole galaxy changed to protect us." She smiled. "That's what families do. They come for you, no matter what." Tommy, now 6, hugged his sister's leg. "And we're safe now," he added. "Forever and ever," Emma nodded. "Forever and ever." Above them in the sky, human warships patrolled peacefully. They would always be ready, always watching, always prepared to keep the promise, because the galaxy learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. You can negotiate with humans on many things: trade, territory, resources, politics. But their children? Never touch a human child and humanity will bring its full fury down upon you. No distance is too far, no enemy too strong, no law too sacred. The galaxy had tested this truth once. They would never test it again. And so the children slept safely, on Earth, on colonies, across human space, protected by the strongest force in the galaxy. Not weapons, not ships, not soldiers, but the unbreakable promise of humanity. We will always come for our children.